This is SportsZone with Brian Heel and Nate Gaff. This is SportsZone. This is SportsZone. This is SportsZone. This is SportsZone. This is SportsZone.
Stop. What is happening?
This is SportsZone.
This is SportsZone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of SportsZone. We're going to kick it off as we always do on SportsZone with Studio 90. I'm joined by Ryan, and while all the major domestic leagues in Europe have gone on international break, that means it's time for us to talk about the U.S. men's national team. They have two big qualifiers against Guatemala, a home and home on Friday and I believe Tuesday for their spot in the Hex. They have announced their lineup. It's usually the guys you would expect to bring, but Ryan, is there anybody on the roster who needs to have a big performance?
I think they just collectively need to have a big performance. Not playing in the Confederations Cup killed them in this in the summer. They just need to have a good showing. It's World Cup qualifying season. They really need to they need to get their stuff going. They need to start playing well. Brad Guzan needs to get out of whatever the heck funk he's in. Whether Tim Howard actually gets playing time, he's getting old.
Yeah.
But it's really the entire United States national team needs to bring it.
Definitely, and especially Josie Altidore and Fabian Johnson, two of probably the most productive players in the U.S. national team, at least the past couple rounds of friendlies and U.S. qualifiers, are carrying knocks. Mönchengladbach, who is Fabian Johnson's club, announced that he had an injury, yet Jurgen Klinsmann is still bringing him in for Guatemala. So if Josie Altidore and Fabian Johnson aren't good to go, if they're not 100%, who can they look for to spark an attack? Can it be Bobby Wood, a Jordan Morris, or a Jesse Zardes? Is that someone who can they look to if Josie Altidore and Fabian aren't 100%?
They're gonna just need. They're gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of soul searching in the United States national team. It's really gut check time. It's that time of year where Guatemala's no pushover of a soccer team. They need a full 10, 11-man effort from everybody, starting from the back and eventually leading up. Probably Altidore is going to be okay. Whether Fabian Johnson is okay or not is going to be a different story. But I think they'll at least have a healthy Altidore to kind of drive that attack.
Yeah, and the U.S. definitely was kind of faced with a sort of conundrum because at the same time they have their under-23 team trying to qualify for the Olympics. So it was a question whether Jurgen Klinsmann would allow some of the younger guys to go and play with the U23s like John Brooks and DeAndre Yedlin, but he brought them into the senior national team, kind of showing that the defense really isn't in a good shape and that these 6 points that are on the line against Guatemala are really important. But kind of mentioning the Olympics, the U.S. didn't qualify for the last Olympics, so they have a home-and-home against Colombia to try and prevent themselves from not qualifying 2 consecutive Olympics. How important is it for the United States to qualify for the Olympics?
Immensely important. It's very surprising to see a U.S. sport not represented in the Olympics in any event, whether summer or winter. It's gut check time for the 23s as well. I think they have a little bit more pressure on them, and Colombia is a little bit more of a formidable opponent than Guatemala. But it should be interesting. The 23s really need to step up their game. They need to play as a team, and I think they should be okay. I think they may go split 1-1, but they definitely need the 6 points.
Definitely, yeah. And one of the big contributors on the U23s, Cameron Carter-Vickers, who plays for Tottenham Hotspur in England, he did not make the lineup. He's carrying the knock. He's been kind of instrumental in the U23 system, but they do have Matt Miazga. They do have other guys, so hopefully they can get the job done and return the U.S. to the Olympics where it really, really does belong. But before the international break went off, we did have Champions League announcement. The round of the quarterfinal draw was announced, and probably the most marquee matchup was the two Spanish giants kind of at the moment. Atletico Madrid and Barcelona are matched up against each other. Atletico Madrid, a stalwart defense, and Barcelona, this bamboozled, this attack that really just can't be stopped by anybody. Do you think that's the draw of the round, and how do you see that one shaking out?
It is definitely the marquee matchup of the round. I think it'll be good for both teams, and it'll be good for Spain to kind of have this big matchup, while Real Madrid's kind of getting a nice free pass through this round. I think the matchup of the round is Barcelona Atletico Madrid. I think Barcelona still comes out on top. I'd probably say about 3-1, 4-1 on the aggregate between both rounds, but I think it'll be huge for Spanish soccer, and I think it'll be huge for UEFA. And I still think we're on that collision course for a Barcelona-Bayern final.
Yeah, Bayern really had to pull one out of their hat against Juventus. They were trailing 2-0 at home in the second leg going into the 70th minute. They had goals late from Robert Lewandowski and Thomas Muller, and then Thiago and Kingsley Coman in extra time put them through. They got drawn against Benfica, kind of an easier draw. They potentially could be going through. But another matchup that's of interest is Man City PSG. Man City, the last English hope. PSG, who obviously dismantled Chelsea in the last round. Man City really is in shambles right now. They just lost in the weekend to Manchester United. They're sitting in 4th place, might not qualify again for the Champions League. And Pep Guardiola is coming in next year. Do you think Manchester City can make one dazzling run to the Champions League semifinals?
Not against PSG. PSG's been playing outstanding soccer, and I think they're going to be on a track to probably play Bayern in the semis. That'd probably be an interesting draw, and maybe a El Clasico, Barcelona Real as the other semifinal. But PSG's been playing too good of soccer. They've just dismantled Chelsea, as you said earlier, and Manchester City is a wreck right now. They will have Pep Guardiola, who apparently, I guess, scared Bayern Munich into their second half comeback performance, which you can never count out. But I don't think Manchester City's going to have it. I think they might tie or draw one of these games at home, but I don't see them winning in Paris.
Yeah, Manuel Pellegrini, the lame duck in Manchester City, just really seems disinterested, and so do the players. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how they do in the league as well as in Champions League. But that is all the time we have this time for Studio 90. So for updates on U.S. qualifying and Champions League, stick around next time for more Sports Zone.
Welcome to Throwing It Up, our weekly NBA segment. I'm joined here by Brian and Jake. My name is Matt, and despite the exciting week of March Madness, we still had a pretty lively week of NBA action. The big story, of course, is the Spurs-Warriors matchup that took place a few nights ago. Great game, low-scoring matchup. The Spurs held the Warriors below 80 points and grabbed the win on their home court, improving to 35-0 at home this season. So in what many are claiming to be a big preview matchup, a matchup of two Titan teams, maybe historically great teams, what is your rapid reaction? Jake, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, it was a very thrilling effort by the Spurs, who were really able to play very hard defense and keep the Warriors under a low point. I think that one of the main keys to this game was LaMarcus Aldridge. You saw LaMarcus Aldridge, how he was able to dominate Draymond Green to the tune of, I believe, 15 points and around 8 rebounds. And if he can replicate that sort of effort in a finals-type scenario, that will be a major key to them winning the game. Now, of course, you have to account for the fact that Steph Curry had an uncharacteristically awful night shooting. I believe it was 1 for 3 behind the arc. So you have to account for how that probably won't happen in a 7-game series, but the Spurs definitely showed a lot of things to show that they really can compete and beat this Warriors team.
And as you mentioned, the Warriors did do a poor job of shooting the ball, and I mean, obviously they've been the clear front runner for the title this year. Defending champions, played much better this season than they had last season, even taking home the title last season. Brian, do you see this as maybe any signs that the Spurs could be more of a threat, that the Warriors are in danger?
I don't know if it's more of a threat, because I think if anyone was taking the Spurs lightly, given their history and given their season, they were making a huge mistake. This team is insanely stacked. It's got an incredible array. It's such a deep team. And they showed that by the fact that they played some of the best defense you'll possibly ever see, keeping this Warriors team to 79 points, less than they scored in a half against the Trailblazers earlier that week. So I don't know if it's necessarily a surprise, but I think the Warriors all along have known the Spurs are probably their best rival in the West. But it's still, the performance shown by the Spurs in that game was incredible defensively. The switching they put out on Curry that shut him down. I mean, you would see LaMarcus guarding Steph at the 3-point line, which is something you can't so you imagine seeing, and that just disrupted the Warriors' rhythm. But I agree that it's probably not going to happen in the 7-game series. You've got to expect Steph's going to go off and hit the shots like he normally does. And this is more of an anomaly, but I think it provides a sort of blueprint for the Spurs and lets them have the feeling that we can beat this team, and we have a way of beating this team.
And one of the interesting things about this game, I mean, aside from the playoff implications, but was the way the game was coached. I mean, Greg Popovich he pulled out all his stops. I mean, Duncan played 8 minutes. He was starting Boris Diaw. He was making alterations specifically for this Warriors team. What do you make of Popovich's aim this early, before the playoffs even started, in tailoring a game to the Warriors?
I think it was his way of testing it out. I know people before the game had talked about how maybe Pop will hide a strategy so Steve Kerr and the Warriors don't see what he might throw at them in the playoffs. But I think Pop took this as a way to see how can we best play the Warriors with this 2 of the greatest shooters of all time on it. And they found a way that they at least can do it, that it involves a lot of switching, it involves a very athletic and mobile lineup that it doesn't involve a 38-year-old, however old Duncan is, at the center position. And I think that was probably the main takeaway from this. And Pop did a great job. He always does, but this was a pretty big stroke of genius for him when it comes to guarding a team that had previously blown them out earlier this year.
Mm-hmm. Now moving on, another controversy a few nights ago came up when Dwight Howard was seen applying a sticky substance to a ball during the game while I believe it was Paul Millsap was shooting free throws in a game against the Hawks. Dwight Howard, in an interview after the game, says that he didn't know this was illegal, said that he does it for every game. So, Jake, what do you make of this? Was Dwight Howard cheating?
Well, if the substance was illegal and it is proved that he's using it, then yes, I mean, he has been cheating. I really think he kind of didn't really make a great move saying that he's been doing it every game, because if it turns out that the substance is illegal, now they're going to go back and they're going to look at all of his games and try to find a lot of instances. So assuming that if this once again is an illegal substance, he might be in for a good amount of trouble. I do believe that the NBA will act upon this.
And I mean, Brian, what do you think this does for Dwight Howard's legacy? I mean, saying he does it every game, I mean, we don't know, but being an all-time great who's had some struggles in the past few years, had some hits to his image maybe in a failure in Los Angeles and trying to get out of Orlando. Where do you think this puts him in terms of his image?
I mean, I think that Dwight Howard's had a pretty tarnished legacy. I mean, his years in Orlando were incredible, and he led those teams to the final at an absurdly efficient scoring rate. But I think the debacle with leaving Orlando and going to the Lakers and how that all played out has already hurt his reputation, and some of the discord that's going on in Houston with the team chemistry there has not helped at all. And I think this is just another way that Dwight Howard, despite his greatness and his pretty prolonged greatness, even in the face of the injuries he's had, it's just in 10, 15 years we're going to look at this and see Dwight Howard as a guy with a lot of talent who made some boneheaded decisions, both like free agency wise or personnel wise and like basketball playing wise.
Mm-hmm. So, and another story, it was just announced that Anthony Davis would be shut down for the season, and he said that he had been he'd been playing through a torn labrum for 3 years. Now, what do you think this says for the future of the Pelicans? With they had a very down season, and now Anthony Davis is out. What do you think this says for the Pelicans' future? I'll start with you, Jake.
I mean, I think it says what this entire season has said for them. I mean, this has been a lost season for them. I mean, obviously shutting down Anthony Davis if the injury is severe enough is the best move to make. I'm not saying I'm a proponent of tanking, but I mean, it will help you land a better draft pick. And really, they just have to kind of just limp to the end of this year, look at their options, see who the best prospects are for them to bring in, and just kind of keep doing what we all know that they were going to do since the trade deadline. I mean, they're going to rebuild the team and see how they can try to make a run when having Anthony Davis, who honestly is a top 5 player in this league and has the potential to be one of the best. They just have to see what they can do to surround him with talent to best help him and best help the franchise.
And looking at that board, I feel that if the Pelicans move up in the draft order, Buddy Hield may be available. I mean, I know I'm a huge fan of his. We'll see who's available for them. Maybe this misfortune ends up helping them. That's all the time we have for Throwing It Up. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Hello, welcome back to SportsZone. This is Ice Time. I'm Ryan Siegel, and I'm here by myself today, so there's nobody to introduce. But it is almost playoff season in hockey. April is right around the corner, and there's lots to talk about. First, we're going to go through some couple top stories. Out in British Columbia, the Vancouver Canucks have decided to shut down Daryl Sutter, Radim Vrbata, and Alexander Edler for the season. It's been a pretty lost season for the Vancouver Canucks. Now it's just kind of restoring and making sure these guys stay healthy. Also, Brooks Laich is to return to the lineup tonight against the Calgary Flames, but I know it's not necessarily a big game for the Flames, or the Maple Leafs for that matter. Now, turning to what really matters, and that is the playoff picture in the National Hockey League. There's about 10 to 12 games left for most teams. Currently going through the division standings, you have the Washington Capitals, which are the first and only team in the Eastern Conference to clinch a playoff spot, and they will probably soon clinch the Metropolitan Division. 71 games, 107 points. Then you have Pittsburgh and the Rangers tied at 88 points apiece through 72 games. The Penguins ahead on goal difference. But that'll be interesting to see. Will the Rangers actually stay in that spot, or will they possibly drop down to a wild card spot? Because the Islanders are 3 points behind both the Rangers and the Penguins, and they have 12 games to play. Rangers and Penguins only both have 10. That'll be very interesting. And the Philadelphia Flyers are still also very much alive in the playoff hunt, sitting with 12 games left. They have 80 points, still 3 points behind the second wild card place, Detroit, but could make a push at this very end. They've been getting hot lately. Shane Gostisbehere has been playing outside of his mind. It will be very interesting to see if the Flyers can find a way back into the promised land. I know that'll make our lovely producer Deepak Bhagat extremely happy if that's the case. Swinging to the Atlantic Division, you have the Florida Panthers still on top and with 89 points, and the Tampa Bay Lightning with 87, and the Boston Bruins with 86. Those three teams are currently 3 points ahead of second wildcard Detroit, and really in that division, those are the four teams that are battling for a playoff spot. Right now, one of those four positions, one of those possibly three positions, depending on the Philadelphia Flyers, is probably going to go between those four teams. Could this be the year that Detroit misses the playoffs for the first time in 25 years, I believe? Probably not. My guess would have to be that they will stay in. They will keep the Flyers out, but it'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Going to the Western Conference, we have the Dallas Stars sitting atop the Central Division with 95 points with 9 games left to play. Then they have St. Louis with 93 points and Chicago with 91 points, all with 9 games left to play. In the Pacific Division, we have the Los Angeles Kings, who are the first team in the Western Conference to clinch a playoff berth. They are sitting with 93 points, Anaheim with 89, and San Jose with 88. Those are currently your top 3 teams in the Pacific Division. Look for the Kings to probably take the division as well. They will probably face off against Colorado or Minnesota, depending on how that plays out. And going to the net wild card picture for the Pacific and the Western Conference, there's probably not going to be there's going to be 2 more Central teams filling out that space. You have Nashville sitting with 85 points with 10 games to play, Colorado with 80 points with 9 games to play, and Minnesota probably going to find a way to sneak back into the playoffs once again, finding the back door, 79 points with 73 games. It should be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Now, a couple key marquee matchups this weekend. Tonight, you have the Philadelphia Flyers against the New York Islanders. Both very big games for both teams. Very big game. 2 points on the line. 2 very key points at that. You also have the Rangers and Panthers at the Garden at Madison Square Garden tonight. Those are another two teams that desperately need playoff points with very few games left in the season. Tomorrow night we have some big Western Conference matchups. You have the Los Angeles Kings playing the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota. Minnesota needs all the points they can get at this point to just try to stay relevant in the playoff picture. You also have Dallas and Chicago in Chicago. The madhouse on Madison will be ever so mad depending on how the turnout of that game goes. That'll also determine whether the Blackhawks will win yet another division title. Swinging to Wednesday night rivalry, you have the Bruins and Rangers, both teams currently sitting in third in their divisions, both trying to hold off wild card teams and as well as trying to make a push to possibly get some home ice spots in the opening rounds of the playoffs. That'll be very interesting to see how that game plays out on Wednesday night. Going to Thursday, we have the Devils and the Penguins. The Devils are playing spoiler, and they are still relevant in the playoff picture. And the Penguins need as many points as they can get because they themselves are trying to hold off the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers for the second spot in the Metropolitan Division. In other news, USA Hockey has announced that Kraft Hockeyville, the voting has come to a close. Kraft Hockeyville, of course, is USA Hockey's fundraiser every year where people around the country get to nominate hockey rinks, local rinks, that could use serious USA Hockey funding. The rink that wins will get to host a NHL preseason game, as well as get substantial money from the National Hockey League. We're hoping and praying as a representative of the American University Club Ice Hockey team and as an American University community and as a DC community as a whole that Fort DuPont Ice Rink in Southeast DC and Anacostia gets the money. It would be great to see that rink kind of resurrected and brought back to life. I think it would be very great for the community in Southeast DC, and I think it would be huge to see a Capitals game in that area. However, that is all the time we have for Sports Zone and Ice Time. For more Sports Zone, I'm Ryan Siegel. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our college basketball segment. I'm joined along with Brian and Deepak. And well, guys, let's just say it has been a horrible NCAA March Madness for all of us. I know my bracket's in shambles. Yours is even worse than mine. Yeah. Brian, I can only imagine how much of in shambles that everybody's brackets are. But we're going to start with probably the biggest upset in tournament history. Middle Tennessee upsetting Michigan State. Michigan State was one of the odds-on favorites to win the tournament. I believe they were actually tied in Vegas odds at a 9-2 favorite to win it all. So Deepak, I'm going to let you take me through this one. What happened to Michigan State?
Much like with all these games that we've been seeing, I have no idea. I have no clue. I'm trying to really keep this very censored right now as to what happened, because here we have. I had Michigan State winning it all. I don't know about you. I had Michigan State winning it all.
I did in my final.
And it just did not go over well for me. In fact, I believe I have 2 of my Final Four teams are out. So there we go. I'm in shambles personally. I think Kentucky was the other team that had to make it to the Final Four, so they're gone. Something I kind of expected, though, because it's been a rough season. One thing I could say is that I did not expect Michigan State to fall so easily. Unlike many other teams, because as we've seen this year, the entire season has been a cluster of just, really uncanny kind of failures, odd failures. Michigan State held their own for most of this season, and that's why I have them going all the way. But then here comes 15th seed Middle Tennessee State. Not only are they not Tennessee, they're not Tennessee State. They're Middle Tennessee State. Which just really makes you question your life choices here. Why, you come in, you're like, Michigan State. There's a definite no. Some team that they were a 15th seed. Of course, they said they felt they should have been a 13th seed, and I don't know. I never heard of them before.
They certainly proved it.
They come out and beat Michigan State, and as you can tell, I'm kind of mad right now. I was actually out at a happy hour with a friend when I found this out, and I was very annoyed. And she was like, "I don't care," and she is an Auburn fan, so she cares a lot about football when it's Alabama and Auburn. I go, all right, tell me this. If I sent my kid to Alabama and purposely had him make fun of Auburn, how would he feel? She goes, we're not going to talk about this. This is going to get me mad. I was like, that's how I feel right now. So that is how I feel in a nutshell. Why?
Well, in other news, a lot of more upsets, and many people could consider Middle Tennessee to be the Florida Gulf Coast of a couple years ago without the excitement of Dunk City. Now, swinging over to the other side of the bracket, you have the Ivy Leagues getting some love. Yale knocking off Baylor in the first round. Many people didn't see that coming. However, Yale is kind of an underrated Ivy League basketball team this year. They had a phenomenal year, capping it off with, I believe, an Ivy League title. So, Brian, kind of take us through this. How did they stun Baylor?
I don't know. Watching this game, you had Makai Mason there, probably by far the best player, just went off. He had like 34 points. He hit like 11 of 11 free throws. He just went off in a way you don't normally see in a college game. And he basically propelled that team. What you see with most of these big upsets is just one team is just sluggish and just is not into it, totally underestimated the energy these underdogs come out with. And Yale came out with his energy, and they had an offensive player in Mason who just dominated. Watching that game, he was hitting shots from all over the place. He had like a Kemba Walker against Pittsburgh at step back at one point in time. And he hit all of these free throws, and that's the biggest one with that was just Makai Mason just doing work.
Absolutely. He had quite the game for himself. Now to be able to see whether or not he repeats that. Other upset news, since that's all there is to talk about, we're going to stay with you, Brian, for this one. We have Little Rock and Purdue.
So mad.
Purdue is a pretty surefire pick for most people, at least in the opening rounds of tournaments. They've been known to at least they're a perennial Sweet 16 team.
Oh, I haven't gone.
So what happened with Little Rock finding a way? I know Purdue had the ball in their hands, 10 seconds left, and kind of a half-hearted layup at the rim missed, and then which led to Little Rock getting fouled, free throws on the line, game, set, match. So Brian, kind of take us through what was Purdue thinking with 10 seconds left, only down by 1 with the ball in their hands?
I predicted both the Yale one and this upset, which I was proud of, and that's before my bracket just got completely destroyed. This Little Rock team came out with a lot of athleticism and a lot of pressure. They were hitting their shots with whatever team that upsets basically hits all their shots, but they came out with just a lot of fire and just went at this Purdue team. Especially, they were down, I think, 15 with 5 minutes left in regulation, and they fought and clawed their way back. And then in overtime, they just kept up that pressure. The reason that what happened with the ending of that game was Purdue's point guard tried to go behind the back, and he was out of control because of this constant on-ball pressure from the entire court that just caused them to throw it away. And that's really what they came out. They came out just with a lot of energy. That's what all these teams do. Is they come out with heart. But they had the athleticism to match it. They didn't have the kind of the performance of a Mason, but they had just a lot of athleticism to match up with someone from a team like Purdue.
Absolutely. I think they did play. Little Rock, of all the teams, deserved that game much more. Deepak, we're going to let you tackle a little bit more of a sensitive, more of a gut-wrenching upset. Northern Iowa over Texas. The half-court prayer.
We'll call that one too.
You know what?
The half-court prayer that somehow finds a way to sink. And then we're going to also let you cover how the heck they collapsed against Texas A&M. So let's start with what happened during Texas and what happened during Texas A&M.
First off, I wanted Texas to win. I'm sorry. I did. It was one of the surefire things. I think Texas is a 6th seed.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to go out there and do fairly well, and then I had them losing to Texas Tech or Texas A&M. Sorry. And A&M obviously came out and won their next matchup against Northern Iowa. I will say this, and this is a shout out to our one-time appearances of Andrew Blickel and Brendan Fay. I was with them that night at the house. Oh, that was a sweet shot. I don't think I could have been mad at that at all. Of course, during that time, we were flipping through 3 different games, one of them being the St. Joe's game, which they won. Thank you. And then they lost. But that's another story for another time, more tears. But really, just I saw some solid play right towards the end. Northern Iowa did not give up. Texas really did look like they were a team that were defeated. You saw just how scrambled they were, and this goes with all these teams that have been upset so far. But ultimately, towards the end, it came down to what absolutely no one could have actually expected to go in. I mean, we always see these shots go, and so far the only one we've ever seen go in has been a Steph Curry shot in the NBA. I think 4 times already this season. No one thought this would happen, and what do you know? I mean, Northern Iowa, I believe, too, had won their initial game on a buzzer beater. So this was back-to-back games with buzzer beater wins. Obviously, the magic didn't last there. The third time was not the charm, but it was definitely, I couldn't have been mad. I just couldn't. I mean, sure, I didn't have them winning, but it was still really just a miraculous win for the team.
I think that momentum, and they were riding such a high, then having to play Texas A&M, where they think seemingly that the game is in the bag. Everybody else is thinking their bracket's going to get busted once again, and all of a sudden, Texas A&M, 12 points in 35 seconds, absolutely unreal. Something that you never see in a March Madness game ever, regardless of whether you are Kentucky from last year or some of the dominant teams of old in the tournament. That was just unreal. That was phenomenal defense and phenomenal resilience by Texas A&M. Now, Deepak, I'm going to give you a little bit more of a lighthearted subject. I know this one's going to hit a little bit closer to home. Villanova is still in the tournament. Philadelphia basketball still has one last hope, and that is the Villanova Wildcats. Temple dropped earlier this week, and St. Joe's lost to Kansas. However, most people were not expecting St. Joe's to beat Kansas. But the last-ditch hope for Philadelphia and the city of brotherly love is the Villanova Wildcats. Deepak, take us through it. How far do you think they're going?
First off, that loss for St. Joe's was not as bad as anyone thought would be either. I'll be honest, in my bracket, I have Villanova actually losing in the Sweet 16. I mean, they are my hometown team. I would love nothing more than to see them win the national title. But if I was thinking, obviously very pragmatic, practical, filling out my bracket, which obviously apparently I wasn't when you look at my 15.5% correctness. I did not expect Villanova to go beyond this round at least. I do have hope there. I think they'll play Miami. Miami, their first 2 games, the second game was better than the first. I don't think they'll be able to hold them off. I think the Wildcats really have shown that they have that very much a most complete team out of all the teams that are still in the tournament. And I understand that I believe all the number 1 seeds are still there too. Villanova can easily top any of them, even Kansas.
They're going to have to go through Kansas.
They will have to go through Kansas, and I think they can do it. Oregon, not even a problem there. Villanova is going to take the cake. That's what I got to say there. Also, quick shout out, because we are running out of time. Yes, I'm taking that one from you. I know 4 guys who are in this tournament, and so I just want to give them a shout out. Sean Alston with Temple, Eric Anderson with Yale, Ben Bentil with Providence, and Derek Mountain with Holy Cross. Obviously, Holy Cross is in the Patriot League, so Derek, I can't, in good faith, actually be happy for you.
Sorry, Mike Brennan.
Sorry, Mike Brennan. But Ryan, there you go.
Well, you heard it here first. Deepak sending his love to his friends in the NCAA tournament. Acquaintances. Either way. Well, that's all the time we have for this segment on college basketball. For Brian and Deepak, I'm Ryan. More Sports Zone coming to you after this.
Welcome back to Sports Zone. This is AU Insiders. I'm Nate Gath. This is Brian Hedall, and this is Jake. Today, we're going to talk about the ladies who are suffering, ladies lacrosse who is suffering in the Patriot League, 0-3, and had a rough loss against Colgate. What do you think about that, Brian?
That is very rough. They are not doing too hot recently. Like I said last week on our previous episode of SportsZone, not Superheroes, the lacrosse team lost their previous game, so they're on a bit of a losing skid, but I'm sure they'll turn it around quickly.
Yeah, hopefully that the ladies turn it around and we see them to return to their winning ways and get more wins in the Patriot League. Big news this week as wrestler David Terao, senior, gained All-American honors and 4th place at the NCAA Wrestling Championship. What would you have to say about that, Brian? Really impressive.
Well, I mean, our boy David, he brought Madison Square Garden to its feet for a standing ovation as he went down to the eventual national champion.
From Ohio State University.
Yeah, he really was playing to the crowd out here, and that's what you love to see. He'll go out as an All-American. He's really going to be missed at American University.
Yeah, last person to receive that honor since 2009. So put that in your head, Eagle fans. What's also interesting about that, he hopes to stay around, help out the American University wrestling culture even more since his brother is a freshman and is on the team. His coach said in an interview that you can find on aueagles.com that he left Madison Square Garden with a 4th place winner and was on cloud 9. Had nothing but great things to say about his senior, David Terao. Any more do you want to add, Brian, or no?
Nah.
Last but not least, we have Jake here to talk a little bit about AU Rugby.
Yes, this Saturday, the American University Rugby Football Club competed in the Four Lease tournament on Randall Island in Brooklyn, New York. Now, the team, after last year's embarrassing performance where they didn't score a single point in the entire tournament, this year managed to come in 2nd place overall, only falling to Christian W. University, defeating teams such as Stetson Hall, Quinnipiac University, in thrilling fashion, actually. After losing the first game in the pool round to Stetson Hall, the team managed to come out and not allow a single point to be scored on them until the championship game.
Wow.
A very thrilling performance, and says very good things about the future of the club.
Any news about like how good the championship team was? Had they had a history of winning in the past?
Yes. Christian W. University won the tournament last year and is a very quality rugby club.
Further news, the AU Men's Ultimate Frisbee Club got 5th place at a local tournament in Towson, Maryland. Would you like to explain more about that, Brian?
Boy, would I. The AU Men's Ultimate Frisbee team had a pretty tough tournament in Towson. There was some stiff competition there. They fell to Maryland in bracket play.
No, in pool play.
In pool play? What do I know? I'm stupid. But and then in pool play in the quarterfinals, they unfortunately fell to Northeastern on Universe, which is essentially a
double game point.
A double game point. And AU managed to come in 5th eventually. They were seeded 5th, so.
Help see. That's all we have time for today. This is SportsZone, and this is AU Insiders with Nate Gaff, Brian Heedle, and Jay. See you in a bit.
Moving on from that, we're going to a sport that ended a few weeks ago with the Super Bowl, but we're talking a little bit about NFL again because it's apparently always relevant, especially according to SportsCenter. I don't really care for that so much on SportsCenter. I'm more of a baseball guy, you don't know. But Roger Goodell came out with these comments saying that players who have been flagged twice in a game for more egregious fouls, we're talking unnecessary roughness penalties, maybe an overly blatant pass interference call, they should be ejected from the game. Now, longtime outspoken defensive back for the Seattle Seahawks, Richard Sherman, came out with the comments saying that Goodell's just a suit. What do you think, taking from someone like Sherman, speaking up against Goodell in recent light of people not really being too fond of the commissioner? What do you think Sherman's comments carry in the world of the NFL from the player's perspective?
I think it's great. Richard Sherman is a vet that a lot of us don't have, and he speaks what's on his mind. Sometimes that's not always the easiest. And I think it's fantastic that he'll say what's on his mind, regardless of who it's on or who it's about. And I think it's a good move for people who are opposed to this foul.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Goodell wanted to really axe out of this now is stemming from last year's Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game in the playoffs, when Cincinnati, had the win right there. Nothing could have stopped them. And then what happens? Vontaze Burfict basically level Antonio Brown, and then Pac-Man Jones have a dumb call against him where he ended up shoving one of the coaches. Those two penalties cost them the game. You feel that if you have something limiting there, that's what Dell wants, where you can get rid of the player for the game. Kick them out, make sure you have more level head prevail, and that way you don't lose a crucial win there, because we've seen, obviously, there was some struggle in playoff success. So, as a fan, do you want to see that? Both as someone, let's say, Vince, being a Steelers fan, wanted to see Burfict kicked out of the game. But as a Bengals fan, you wouldn't want to see that. So what do you take away from that?
It's a fine line to ride. On one hand, you want players who are troublemakers, foul committers. You want them out of the game. But on the other hand, as an outside spectator, you want the best players in the game. You want to be entertained. So it's a fine line to ride.
And I think safety definitely comes into play there as well. Harder hits lead to more, CTE evidence coming on for players who are retired afterwards. But moving on to my favorite topic, which they have jokingly said they would cut, but they will not, because I will edit this episode along with Kristen, and she's a baseball fan as well. Spring training. It's always relevant. Baseball's a 365-day-a-year sport, so working on inside, we all have our different teams. Brian, you're from Atlanta, so you're a Braves fan. No one really cares about them.
Fair enough.
But let's start with the Red Sox. This seems to be one of those years where we have an ace. Maybe we can move on and win the World Series. What have you taken away, though, from early position battles in spring training? We're about a month and a half in, or almost a month and a half in.
It'll be interesting to see who has the bigger belly come the first day, Poppy or Sandoval. That should be interesting. And obviously everybody's excited about David Price. Last year Sox struggled pitching. Finally got a big ace, spent a lot of big money. So there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah, Vince, you guys are coming back from a devastating injury to Jung Ho Khan. The Pirates are also having 3 straight years being knocked out of the wild card. You lost Neil Walker to the New York Mets. Where do you see the Pirates really coming into play?
Well, definitely, I think the big thing to watch at spring training is Garrett Cole. He's been limited. He's just been pitching on flat ground, and he's been working his way back slowly. He's been the ace of this team the past couple of years, and he's pitched the last 2 wild card games, which unfortunately they've lost. But he's the ace of this team, and they really go as he goes, as he's kind of emerged. So it'll just be watching his health, and hopefully someone emerges that has a bat, because the Pirates have really struggled offensively with power, at least the last couple of years.
And then move McCutcheon up to the second hole too, so we'll see what that does for them. He's got the pop, but he also gets on base more and scores more runs, and that's basically why they're moving him up there. Brian, you're a Braves fan. I'm a Phillies fan. Both teams are projected to finish pretty much 29th and 30th, respectively. Yeah. You're in a rebuild season. You probably don't remember many of the players now, or know many of the players now that all these guys are gone.
Yeah.
But where do you, find the Braves entering, these weeks of spring training?
I think a lot of what we're seeing in spring training is a lot of this prospect feeling out. We've had, the offseason was, and these last few offseasons have been filled with a lot of trades for a lot, especially pitching prospects. So I think a lot of this is like feeling out what these kind of players that we've traded for. But there's not much on this team to go off of. There's not a whole lot of major talent that'll bring in runs for the team. This is just not going to be a good season, especially since it's the last, and it's kind of sad. It's the last season of Turner Field. We're moving out of the city out into the suburbs, which is sad for pretty much everyone who doesn't live in that suburb. So it's gonna be disappointing to see the Braves basically put together a pretty sad final season in the place that's been around it's been our home since the Olympics, actually.
Yeah, well, they were able to pick up a former Rookie of the Year in Ender Ciarte, and the first player under the Trey Turner rule with Dansby Swanson, the first overall pick last year, in a trade for Shelby Miller. So maybe that will work out for you guys. But for the Phils, obviously they're also in the prospect phase. They're absolutely crushing it in spring training right now. Michael Franco has more home runs than I think at least four other teams in all of baseball. Then again, it could be the Florida weather. But I'm really enjoying this. I think that the season is going to be good to us because we will finish last, and that means another number 1 overall pick. Because together we rebuild. You see it with the Sixers. Now you're going to see it with the Phillies. the Flyers are always going to be on a cusp, and then the Eagles,
Trust
who
the-
knows what that's
Trust the
gonna be.
process.
Trust the process, you know? Trust the process. Don't cheat like Boston sports do. Yes, Rory, that's meant for you. Anyway, that is all we got for Rapid Fire. So for Rory, Vince, and Brian, I'm T-Pac. Stay tuned for more Sports Zone coming at you.
Hello, welcome back to Sports Zone. This is our favorite segment, Thumbles. Thumbs up, thumbs down, where we talk about the good, the bad, and sometimes even the ugly in the world of sports and in the world at large. As always, I'm going to be kicking this off. We're going to start up with thumbs down. I'm sorry, it's been a bad week, guys. Thumbs down to March Madness and double thumbs down to Michigan State. What the heck was that? That was by far the worst performance I've seen in a tournament in the history of the tournament. The history of the field is 68. I know the history is not that old, but deal with it. Just a horrible all-around performance. Thumbs down to the rest of the tournament because my bracket is beyond in shambles. I think I'm only 1% above Deepak, who's currently sitting in the cellar.
Deepak is a nerd.
On the Sports Zone bracket challenge. We also have thumbs up, on the other hand, to the New York Rangers, still somehow in a playoff spot. Should be interesting to see how they play tonight against the Florida Panthers. Thumbs down to Deepak for just absolutely getting beyond belligerent back there and on camera today. He tried to keep his cool about March Madness. He was fuming, and everybody on camera saw it. So on behalf of all of our tens of viewers, I sincerely apologize, ATV Sports Zone. Thumbs up to the rugby team for a great weekend. They played extremely well. We're all very proud of them. Randall's Island was a good time, I've heard, and I hope you guys continue to have great success. I will probably come to the Cherry Blossom Tournament down on the National Mall. That is April 3rd or April 2nd, that weekend. We'll keep you posted on that next week. Also, just thumbs up to baseball, and I'll give Deepak a thumbs up again for his Philadelphia Phillies playing pretty good baseball in the Grapefruit League. Thumbs up to the Yankees as well for playing not so great baseball, but they never play great baseball in the Grapefruit League. Thumbs up to Mike McCagnon for actually revealing to Jet fans what the heck his offseason plan is. We at least know that, be patient, and there are guys that he is actively pursuing, as well as obviously quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, because please, 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 no Geno Smith next year to start off the season. And thumbs up to the fact that college hockey playoffs start this weekend. Lots of big matchups. I'm hoping my BU Terriers find a way back to the promised land, and thankfully we don't have Matt O'Connor to drop a puck between his legs and our own neck. And also thumbs up to Denver Lacrosse and Bill Tierney, who's having a phenomenal run with a great lacrosse team. I'm looking forward to seeing them again in Philadelphia Memorial Day weekend. That's all my thumbs. We're going to swing it over to Brian.
Oh, thank God. I had to cough really bad that whole time. How's it going? My first thumbs up goes to Joe Madden, who said, as far as the Cubs dress code is concerned, if you feel hot, wear it. That's what I'm doing. Thumbs down to Deepak. I don't know if you heard, but his bracket apparently sucks. Awkward. Thumbs up to me. I'm in second in our bracket challenge. I didn't watch college basketball this year. Thumbs down to the Spurs. They beat the Warriors, and I want the Warriors to beat the Bulls record. That's lame. Thumbs up to, I don't know, life.
Thumbs up to me for not hitting the banner. Thumbs up to the Patriots' acquisition of Martellus Bennett, which I believe gives them the best number 2 tight end since Aaron Hernandez is the rest, and will allow them to really open up the offense, give them another offensive piece to create mismatches with. Thumbs down before yesterday to the Boston Celtics skid, where they lost 3 or 4 games before actually winning last night against the 76ers. So hopefully that'll allow them to get back to the 3rd, 4th seed territory they were in before this week. And a thumbs down to this jacket for being very small. Also, thumbs up to Rams owner Leslie Snead for announcing Case Keenum as the starting quarterback. while some might criticize them, criticizing the talent of Case Keenum, I do believe that going in with one quarterback in mind to be your starter will at least allow the offense to form around him, and assuming that they don't draft a quarterback, will at least give them a clear picture going into the offseason activities. And thumbs up to me for being, third in the bracket challenge, having the highest potential score still with my entire Elite 8 still intact. So we'll see what happens there. So, goodbye.
I'd like to start by giving a thumbs down to myself for picking Michigan State. That was terrible. But I'd like to give a thumbs up to Dirk for dropping 40 at 37, fourth player of all time to do it. Still humming along pretty well. I'd like to give a thumbs down to Dwight Howard for being stupid again and putting Stickum on his ball. And I'd like to give a thumbs up to both Paul Millsap for discovering it and for Steven Adams saying that if he didn't use the Stickum, maybe he'd make his free throws. I'd like to give a thumbs up to Arsenal for finally winning a game with Alex Iwobi and Danny Welbeck actually scoring. And I'd like to give a thumbs up to Zlatan for saying that the Eiffel Tower should be named after him, and that means he might stay at PSG. And that's about it for my thumbs, so on to the next one.
I want to give a thumbs up to Mil Huertas and Phoenix for putting on a barnstorm of a match in Lucha Underground Season 2. I want to give a thumbs up to the Dead Man, a.k.a. Mark Calloway, a.k.a. The Phenom, a.k.a. The Undertaker.
A.k.a. world's greatest.
What's good? For deadlifting 500 pounds, for being a really old man. I want to give a thumbs down to the weather in Towson during the weekend. Boo. It's I want to give a thumbs up to my bracket because I'm number one. What's good, baby? I want to give a thumbs down to Deepak's bracket because apparently, yet again, it sucks. I want to give a thumbs down to the Cardinals because I hate them. You suck. Go Reds. I want to give a thumbs down to the Reds because we traded away all our players. This is going to be a sad season for Reds fans. Sad season. And I'm going to give a thumbs up because in 2 Sundays, we're going to WrestleMania. And after my good friend here, after me, we're going to have my good friend, Rory, come on the show.
What's going on? Thumbs up to the studio. Never been here. Love it. Pretty cool. Thumbs up to Manchester United. Getting the win over City. 1-0. Not pretty, but win's a win. I'll take 3 points over those jerks any day of the week. Thumbs up to March Madness, just for being madness. Thumbs down to Xavier, blowing it last night. They're my national champion. And thumbs up to all the guys doing this show here. Never been, love it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Vince.
We're gonna jump in, as Steve Hawk always does, with a thumbs up to VCU. My final thumbs to VCU of the year. They really exceeded expectations all year. They were picked to finish 6th in the A-10. They won the A-10. Will Wade in his first season took them back to the NCAA tournament. They had their first win since 2013, and they had Buddy Hield, the best player in the nation. That's right, the best player in the nation, not Ben Simmons, on the ropes. So thumbs up to them for a great season overall. Thumbs up to Arsenal as well. Alex Iwobi was given his Premier League debut. He scored. There was a pretty great performance. Maybe Mesut Ozil was hurt. I don't know. So maybe thumbs down to that. But they got their first win in like forever. So that was definitely good to hear. Thumbs down to my bracket. It's bad. Not as bad as Deepak's, but still pretty bad. Thumbs up to Northern Iowa for their buzzer beater over Texas because former VCU coach Shaka Smart coaches Texas, and Shaka Smart was Shaka not so smart. He left VCU, and he abandoned his team after saying he would never do that. Shaka Smart, I am not a big fan, so that buzzer beater warmed my heart like hot chocolate in winter. That's all for me this week.
Kids got puns.
Talk about your bracket.
I hate you all. Thumbs up to me because I'm awesome.
Nah.
Picking brackets.
Thumbs up to me for filling out a bracket and actually leading the whole thing about getting you guys to get brackets done.
No participation medals.
Thumbs down to my bracket because 15.5% gets you nowhere in this world.
Yay!
Thumbs up to obviously everyone being here. Thumbs down to the weather this weekend. Thumbs down to the fact that I was here past 3 a.m. both on Saturday and Sunday in ATV doing work. Thumbs up to Kristen for being here for most of those hours too, doing work. Thumbs up to Kristen for directing basically this entire episode.
Yay.
Thumbs up to Rory for coming for his first episode. Thumbs up to Aviva for finally showing that she's alive. You know. Thumbs down to Cody for not being here. Thumbs up to all the drama going on in this world because drama llamas. Thumbs down to Rachel because Ryan wants you to do that. Thumbs up to Jamie Dixon. He took a job with TCU as their head coach. He went there back when he was a student, so he's returning home. Pitt loves him. Thumbs up to Villanova. They're still there. Thumbs down because St. Joe's and Temple aren't there. Thumbs up because apparently it's supposed to be good weather this week, for most of it at least. But that's all the thumbs I got. So, for Ryan, for Vince, for Jake, for Nate, for Brian, for Matt, for Aviva, for Kristen, for Rory. Am I forgetting someone else? I'm forgetting someone. For myself.
For Deepak.
I am Deepak.
And last as usual.
We will see you next week.
Na-na-na.
Wait, what was that?
You're stupid, and I don't like you as a human.
That's what I mean.
That's bold.
Yeah, it's not even
That's bold.
There's no comedy in that.
Yeah, there was no comedy in that. I did not intend for it to be comedic.
That's bold.
I still love you.
I don't want that.
That's bold. How's your quassing with the mightiest of ducks?
It wasn't quassing, it was tersing.
Tersing?
Was on the show.
I am on the show.
Was. You guys are just gonna be doing your shit, whatever.
Or we're just gonna say like, this is SportsZone.
Yeah, you guys like just practice different like openings, like how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Because
And then you guys
this
wanna be like,
is Sports Zone.
no.
This is SportsZone.
Unless you don't want to go. Oh, you do? You want to be in the intro?
In SportsZone.
You hear
This
that?
is
She wants to be on the intro.
Sports Zone. This
This
is
is
Sports Zone.
And then she's gonna stop you and be like, no. This is sports zone. And then we'll just cut there.
This is Sports Zone.
This.
This.
Exactly. No.
This.
Do all this. Do all this.
This.
But then she's gonna say stop.
Deepak, get out of the way.
Have you been recording that?
What do you think?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, is that a yes?
So you're gonna be doing all that again?
Yes.
When he hits record again, you're gonna be doing all that, like practicing it all.
Okay.
And then new intro, blah, 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 and she's gonna stop and be like, no. This is sports. And then we'll cut.
Okay, cool.
Wait, where am I pointing? To the banner? Oh.
What camera are we looking at?
That one. Center.
Yep.
Do I stop them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just do that. Well, and then just do your thing.
Okay, cool.
Funny.
This is why I left you for Omega. This is why. To understand that reference, watch Superheroes, which I don't do anymore.
It's Sigma, Deepak. It's not that
Sigma,
difficult.
not smegma. Smegma is a very inappropriate thing, which I will not talk about on camera, but look it up. Preferably in an incognito.
We're good.
I like. Now we have Brian. I like winging it.
He slides out. He slides in.
These are my thumbs.
Then let's say Brian takes Brian. Then
Intriguing.
Then Jake takes Nate.
Thumbs
Then
down.
Vince takes Jake. And Deepak takes Vince. So you're going in there, you're sliding in this way, and then Deepak can slide in this way. Beautiful.
Thumbs down.
That's
This guy
cool.
with his jacket.
Get out.
And then Deepak. Jake didn't hit the banner, that's great.
All right.
Get out of this.
Okay, get out. You want fun? Jake will give me a syrup. Do.
Alright. Alright, I gotta practice my choreographed kick.
This is Jake. Today, we're going to